Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of HealthWise. I'm your host, Dr. Joeann Davis, and tonight we'll be discussing eating for life, how your diet shapes chronic diseases, prevention, and management. Tonight I have on the panel with me our dietitian, Miss Phondernelle Boddie, and our registered nurse, Miss Cyndee Anslyn.
Yes.
I'll give them a few minutes to introduce themselves.
Hi, good night everyone. My name is Phondernelle Boddie. I'm a dietitian. A dietitian roles specialize in nutrition and creating diets.
Okay, and I am Miss Cyndee Anslyn. I work at the GNF France, and I am a registered nurse. My role is basically to provide care, education, support for families and their patients.
So tonight on our show, we're gonna have a medical official on our spotlight, our personality spotlight, and a look at what's happening at the GNF hospital with our local medical bulletin with Dr. Jensen Morton. We're gonna take a few minutes and we'll be right back as we stop for a short break.
The dangers of sweet beverages in the Caribbean. It is time to shine a light on the dangers of sugary beverages. Sugar-sweetened beverages are the main source of sugar in our diets, and eating and drinking too much sugar has been linked to being overweight and obese. In St. Kitts and Nevis, 50% of adult females and 37% of males are overweight and obese. And 28% of children are either overweight or obese. A survey showed that 62% of students between the ages of 13 and 15 drank one or more carbonated sugar-sweetened beverage every day, exceeding their daily healthy limit. So, how much sugar should we consume? The World Health Organization and American Heart Association recommends that children aged 2 to 18 should consume less than 25 grams of sugar daily, and adults should consume less than 50 grams of sugar daily. It will surprise you how much sugar is in some of your favorite beverages. This chart shows that on average, one serving of a sugary beverage exceeds the daily maximum sugar intake for children, which is 25 grams, and is very close or sometimes over the limit for adults at 50 grams. The impact of sweet beverages on your health, your family, and community can be severe. So, it's time to rethink your drink. This message has been brought to you by the St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Health.
And we're back. And so as we're about to jump right in, we're going to start off with the first question. What is a healthy diet in the context of preventing chronic diseases?
So, a healthy diet in the context of preventing chronic diseases is a diet that is keeps the body in a state of homeostasis, keep it balanced and performing at its optimum level. It provides recommended amount of macronutrients, which are fats, protein, and carbs, and micronutrients, which are minerals and vitamins.
Okay, so when you say a healthy diet, does that include, the fancy diet like ketone diets and, weight loss diet? That's a thing? Weight loss diet?
Weight loss diet.
Right.
Well, there are different diets that can cause weight loss, depends on what you eat. So more fibrous foods, fruits and vegetables can all help in part of weight loss. Consistency, like exercising, all of those plays a major role in it.
Okay.
So you want to cut down on processed foods.
Processed foods.
Definitely, like so for instance, like KFC. Those are high in grease. You want to cut down sodas. The sugar intake. Try to limit that as much as you can, and just try. We're not saying that you must cut these out one time, but try your best to wean off yourself and eat it in moderation, because we all need fats, we all need sugar, but in moderate amounts.
Okay.
Yes.
So what role does the diet play in the development of chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases? Like how exactly is the diet, affecting that path?
But that would be more of unhealthy diets, where we consume more of processed foods, which are packaged food, cookies, conkles, those things that we like. Refined carbs like white rice, white flour, saturated fats, trans fat. Like for instance, in diabetics, these can cause insulin resistance.
Okay.
It can also elevate the blood sugar levels, which is a risk factor for type 2 diabetes.
Okay. So
Yes.
there are two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2.
Type 2.
Correct.
Type 1 diabetes is more people who are born, they're born with it.
Correct.
Type 2 diabetes is where something like you
develop it?
You
develop
develop it,
because of
right,
your
so-
lifestyle and what you eat.
Yeah, sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
And so you find that the body now, it cannot adjust. You find that the glucose, the insulin, which is supposed to help and push the glucose back into the cells, you find that it's struggling because it can't compete with
The amount of glucose that's inside.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you find that most persons, that's the most prevalent one, the type 2
The type 2.
diabetes.
And with regards to hypertension, it's just a lot of salt, right?
A lot of sodium.
A lot of sodium.
Yeah, the lot of sodium, it causes the body to retain fluid. And retaining fluid because increase the blood volumes and increase the blood pressure.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know we like to eat out. Everybody obviously we know.
Correct.
We like the things like the KFC and so that's the obvious things. But things like soy sauce, I don't think we realize
High
how
in
much.
Or sodium.
Like,
yes,
in
it is.
I think about
Yes.
120 grams. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at the back part of
The
some of the
labels,
labels,
correct,
right?
yes.
Of some of the sauces that really is ketchup, mustard, soy sauce. I love sweet chili, right? And all these things. And we see, if we take the time out to read some of the things,
The labels.
we'll
You'll
be
be
shocked.
shocked to see
Yeah.
how much
Yes.
sodium,
Yes.
Crazy.
calories,
How many,
carbohydrates.
like in the Coca-Cola,
Oh, no.
how much the sugar content. in
I know
that.
sometimes we look at the back and we see, diet. It's Diet Coke. They don't have that much sugar.
It has.
It has
a lot more.
It has. It has.
Yes,
Yes,
it
that's
It
right.
has a whole lot more. Okay, so are there specific dietary patterns that have been shown to reduce the risk of chronic diseases? Well, what would some of those diets be? Like
Well,
what about the omnivore diet? Not the omnivore, the carnivore diet. I've heard about that, where you just eat only meats.
Meats.
How is that in reducing? What do you think? Is it helpful or not?
Well, in the case of like diabetes, you need your fiber, you need your plant-based foods as well, because fiber helps slow down the rate of the blood entering the blood sugar. It slows it down. So yeah.
We also have like stuff like the Mediterranean diet.
Oh yes.
Right, correct. Those are mostly plant-based. You still have poultry, eggs, and dairy in it, but it's not as much as other diets would be. So with that one, you find that it helps to lessen cardiovascular diseases. It helps to bring down the glucose levels because you're not focusing on sugary foods. You're trying to cut it out as much as possible. Right?
Yes.
So you find that most, and I'm surprised that most persons here say that they are trying the Mediterranean diet because they see it on Facebook and so forth, and they realize that you can incorporate different foods into it, like proteins. You have lean poultry and stuff like that. So it's a diet that I would recommend most persons to try. Yeah.
Really?
And also, Ms. Boddie, I think the DASH diet,
The
correct.
Dash, what's the
Helps.
Dash diet?
It's a dietary approach to stop hypertension.
Really?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
So you focus on foods that are
Low in sodium.
correct.
Whole foods, more lean proteins like skinless chicken, fish, lentils, beans, and stuff like that.
So what's an example of let's try to do like breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Because we're saying like healthy diets, you know, we should try to eat more like this, more like that. But like for breakfast, some people like me, we go without breakfast, and probably my first meal of the day is like at midday, right? But you know, some persons who eat breakfast, so a cup of coffee, that's fine. Or we should do more like, you know, boiled egg and this and that. What? Give me an example of what a healthy meal throughout the day would be like.
As I will start by saying first, it depends on the individual.
The preference, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So you say how you say you don't eat until 12 o'clock. It depends on how you feel. But okay, a healthy breakfast, you start out eating some, oats. You get your fiber. You know, you get your tea. You can have your bread, whole wheat or white bread. You have your protein as well. You have your fruits and, you know, your water, breakfast. For lunch, you can have like a salad. You have some proteins, a 4-ounce fish,
So
chicken.
you could add some chicken with the salad then, huh?
Yes. Depends on what you like, you know. You can have some mashed potato, rice, pasta. For dinner, well, for snacks, you can have popcorn, apples. For dinner, you can have something light. I don't know. Depends on time you go.
Crackers and tea.
Yes. Or
Yeah, nothing too heavy.
Yes,
At
because you're going
the
to
night,
sleep.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so with all this that she said, and like we're saying, there's nothing wrong with the food, but what's important is the portion sizes, right?
And also how it's prepared.
And how
because,
it's
you know,
prepared.
You want to bake more, stay away
From
from
the
frying
fried
as
food,
much,
yeah.
you know,
Yes.
grease and fat, you know, so
Right.
all of that.
I know some people like to season everything with salt and then add a dash of salt on top of it as well, right? Because you just don't have enough seasoning. And we as black people, we love to taste food. If it's not seasoning, not cook.
Oh yes.
Right? But we need to take a page out of the Caucasian race and add a little bit less. So a little bit of salt and black pepper.
That's it.
Be satisfied.
You know how they say
Okay.
they add until their ancestors tell them when to stop.
When the ancestors whisper in your ear after you this,
Stop.
Yes.
Yes.
It also, your culture
Our
weighs
culture.
extremely heavy on how we eat.
that's very true.
So I know a lot of times you might say, okay, you know, today is Sunday, so I'm going to do my big cooking.
Yeah, we have the
so I'm going to
macaroni
have macaroni pie.
Oh,
I'm going to do my fried chicken or it's stew down,
Of course.
right?
With the fried plantain, and you have to have the macaroni salad and the macaroni.
No, the pie, yes.
And then the rice, the white rice.
Oh yes.
But you realize how much carbs we're having.
Yeah.
We
At
have
one time.
rice, mashed potato. We
Scallop
have
potato.
scallop potato.
Let's not forget the drink now.
Yes.
Oh,
Rice
Oh.
and the rest.
Yes.
Don't eat until it tastes like
That's
diabetes.
Yes.
We need to like rework that part of our culture. We need to rework that part of our lifestyle and incorporate more of the vegetables. So if you have salad, you're gonna add it with some steamed vegetables. So you're gonna add your broccoli, your carrots.
Yes.
You know, for the if you need your carbs, you could take out the rice completely and you put in your dasheen, your breadfruits, your yam.
Yes,
How the ground people, how the old
we
people say.
we need to get more young people into
The
those
ground
grown
provision,
foods, right?
yes.
That we have moved away. And you see, I think
Yes.
there are a lot of factors that that influence how you eat. So, for instance, how you work, maybe like for dietitian,
Times,
doctors,
yes,
nurse,
yes.
you work very, very long hours, and so sometimes by the time you come home, you're too tired.
That is very true.
You know, so you might go, you might
So
run
I
down
meal
the road.
prepping.
That's
is important.
thank you, thank
Yes.
you very well.
Yes.
And for those of
Meal
us
prepper.
who don't like to eat the same thing every day,
Yes.
make sure you have your salad and your vegetables every day.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna come right back as we continue this interesting topic.
Have more wonder, yeah, with life and all you see, and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
That we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. So we're gonna move on with the next question, which is how important is calorie control versus nutrient quality in managing chronic diseases?
Calorie control and nutrition quality is two very important aspects.
They go hand in hand.
Yes, they do. Calorie control focuses more on the quantity of quantity of calories you get from the food, whereas nutrition quality focuses on the
quality.
the nutrient dense foods that provides more nutrients and minerals, essential minerals that your body needs.
Okay, so to further break it down for our listening audience, so I don't know, maybe a bowl of salad, right? A complete bowl of salad versus a bag of chips.
Yes.
Right? That would be the calorie control.
Yes.
So maybe a large bowl of salad would be like 120 calories.
Correct.
Meanwhile, maybe 5 chips is like 400 calories.
Yes, it is.
And then the problem with that, I guess, is
You're
that
not getting any nutrients from the bag of chips
at all.
at all. Yes.
And it's empty because I mean, like after 5
and then you're
chips,
still hungry.
Yeah.
So it's not even full yet.
Those are empty calories.
Yes.
so
it
yeah,
is.
those are what we call empty calories, right? And
nothing of nutrient value, nothing at
at
all.
all.
And as she rightfully said, you eat, and you're not feeling
you're not
full, so you're
full.
going to eat some more and more and more.
Yes.
Right?
And,
And
then
then-
you pass your recommended daily calorie counts and you still haven't eaten anything of
Wow.
importance.
So guys,
So you see how it spikes up the sugar?
yeah,
How it spikes up the sodium?
and straight into diabetes,
Thank you
straight
very
into
much.
hypertension, and these things lead to cardiovascular diseases.
Correct.
Yes.
And we're seeing a lot of young people having strokes and heart attacks.
Yes.
I mean,
recent, yes.
I mean, once upon a time that was
Yes.
considered the old people diseases, you know?
Not
like,
anymore.
like only old people does get strokes. Only old people have heart problems.
That's how you used to see it.
Now you're
Yes.
seeing people in their 20s and in their 30s talking about stroke and heart attack. That's crazy,
is
guys.
right.
What are you guys doing? You guys are eating bad. So listen up.
But that's why we're here, to educate.
Exactly.
Yes,
Okay, so how can poor dietary habits alone lead to chronic diseases? Or must there be other factors that play a part into, you know, someone developing chronic diseases?
Like the
Yes.
sedentary lifestyle. So, you know, you're not active, you're not fit, maybe you're just home laying down all the time.
Yes.
You know, when you're home, you're laying down, you're going to watch TV, you're going to eat, you're going to get that bag
True.
of chips.
True.
And get the same thing as we just
You're watching
said.
your series and you just
Then you're going
Yes.
to go for your ice cream. Those
Yeah.
are the comfort foods that we like while we watching, we binge watching
Yep.
Netflix, right?
Yes.
Or you're feeling like a snackish.
That's right.
You're feeling like a peckish.
And then the same, the empty calories, we're not getting anything of nutrient value. And then
Yes.
you're just packing that up.
Yeah.
Right?
also you have genetics.
Oh,
Right?
right.
It make people predisposed to certain conditions.
That is very
already.
true.
Yes, you have the age. You know, as you get older, you lose muscle mass. You're not
Correct.
as physically active as you were when you're younger. All of these can cause weight gain and other problems.
See, so guys, this is very important. So if someone in your family, close family, for example, your mom has diabetes or hypertension, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, there's a high chance that you can develop it if you don't take the necessary precautions to do that.
Yes.
All right? As well as the older you get. I know when I was in primary school, I used to run up and down like a little donkey.
Oh yes.
Right? Every time I come home from school, my uniform black. And then the older I get, I
And you
was
can
like,
still go somewhere when you reach
and I
That's
still go
right.
some
Yes,
more,
you can
right?
still
People
go
used to be
some
like, you can't sit still.
Yes.
And then the older I get, you know, you start to develop, it's like, oh, ladies don't run.
Yes.
So you start to walk. And then we get a little bit older, we start to drive. It's like, I must walk from here
Here
to
to
there.
there. Oh yes.
Mad.
And I have a car.
And I
You
have
get
a car.
accustomed to it.
Oh
Right?
yes.
And then we realize that we're walking less, we're moving around less, right? And then every year we start with the New Year's resolution.
This
I'm
is what
gonna
I'm
go
going
to
to
the
eat
gym.
better.
That
I'm
is
gonna
so-
eat better.
Gym.
And then you do it for 3
Sure,
weeks,
that is-
and then you stop. And you say, oh, next year for that.
How much gym fee have you paid and not gone?
Exactly. Right? That is
Yes.
sad, guys.
Also, the use of alcohol
Right.
use,
Yes.
that's a big one. That's a
Yes.
very,
Right.
very big
So
one.
a lot of people don't realize is that alcohol has lots of sugars in it, right? And I know we like Friday night, Saturday night, we're going off a little drink, we're going to get a lime.
You know, hard day at work, or you want to relax,
a little
you want to cool off.
relaxation.
Yes.
Correct.
And some of us are a little bit more bougie, we like a glass of wine.
That's right. And then the one
The
goes
red
into
wine,
two.
the white wine.
Two going to three.
Yes.
That's right.
And I realize we're drinking a lot of Caribbean Rosé, a lot of Prosecco, guys.
Yes, because it tastes good.
You see that? You see that?
Yes.
Right? So we need to cut back on that, right? All these factors play a role into us developing these types of diseases.
Correct.
Right? And this is something that it's not just affecting the older folks. We're mostly seeing it in younger patients, high school patients. Y'all like to go down the road and buy KFC lunchtime.
Every day.
Like you're not seeing it now on your bodies because it's slim and fit and you're trim, but then you realize that the time you reach 20, what's happening to you, you know?
Realize I'm breathing a lot heavier.
Exactly.
Getting dizzy all the time. I'm feeling thirsty all the time.
Oh, yes.
And these are some of the signs you have to look out for when it comes to these chronic diseases, because at first they present very silently. You notice by the time I walk from this stairs to the second floor, I tell you, I can't go no more.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
You realize that you're always drinking water. You realize that you always have a headache.
Urinating.
Or you're urinating a
too
lot.
often. Yes.
Right? These are some of the signs that you need to go and check out yourself. Because especially if your diet has not been the best, you know that your physical activity has been next to nothing. You know, these are some of the signs you really have to look at. Especially if you've had persons in your family who suffers or who have suffered from diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases. And all of these things are 100% preventable. All right? So the next question I have is, what is the impact of high sugar intake on diabetes? Somebody who already has diabetes.
And they're constantly consuming more and more sugar.
Yeah, so
this can further damage other organs in the body.
The kidneys.
The kidneys, the liver. It can give way to other chronic diseases. It can cause hypertension, to cardiovascular disease.
I've heard that normally somebody who walks with diabetes, there's a high chance of them walking with hypertension. They tend to walk hand in hand.
Yes.
In hand,
Oh, yes.
So if you have one, there's a high chance you can develop the other.
Yes.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So, and then the sodium consumption for the hypertension, it just increases. It makes everything worse, right?
Correct, because then you have it's like your body, it's now full with fluid. You have fluid overload, and the more fluid you have, the more the blood volume it goes up, the more you have problems with the hypertension, and then it leads to all sorts of drastic effects on the rest of the body. So as she rightfully said, different organs, so you're starting to see your kidneys, so you know your kidneys is responsible for excreting all the waste, and then now it's having problems excreting it because
it's built up.
There's a lot of build up.
Right, so then you start to have kidney issues, and you start to have liver problems, fatty tissue, all these
things just add on to it and add on to it.
It's like a domino effect in the body. What happens to one affects the next
other one.
So,
Everything is connected.
Everything is connected.
I think you said homeostasis at the beginning,
which is like complete balance, right?
Yes, optimal. Yes.
So if somebody has hypertension, diabetes, and we see a lot of the times that persons are not adhering to the medication and not adhering to the specific diet, right? What happens is that you add this extra pressure onto your body, and then what end up happening is that you go into multi-organ failure. So as the dietitian and the nurse rightly said, that you're gonna have kidney failure, you're gonna realize that your liver is shutting down. And then sometimes what might happen, you might start blacking out, you might start having problems with your heart, with your lungs. You might hear the term, oh, you have fluid in your lungs, or you have heart failure. Some persons end up in coma, and sadly persons end up dying from these things, you know. And it is so sad to see that all of this is preventable. It's 100% avoidable.
Correct.
Right? So one more question we have: are plant-based diets more effective than, you know, omnivorous diets where you eat both plants and meat in managing chronic diseases? Is it better to go like 100% vegan instead of just eating meats and plants?
I would not say so, because as much as the plant-based diet is good, with the omnivorous diet, you still have key nutrients that you get, for instance,
the vitamin B12.
Correct, and meat, you get the vitamin B12, you know, you get proteins and so forth. Everything is just eating in
Moderation.
moderation. Right? So because I can't tell a local person who has been eating omnivorous diet for years to say, hey, let's go and do full plant-based. It's not going to be fair to them. They're not going to be able to adjust, and then you find that they're going to go lapse right back into the same habit. So you incorporate certain foods. You say, okay, you know what, for lunch, let me try do a little baked chicken, do a little steamed veggies or so forth. You know, they grow up on the ground provisions, you know, add in a little yam here and there. And then maybe in the dinner time, you say, okay, you know what, I had that, maybe I should cut back on the rice, maybe I
Gradual changes.
Quinoa seems to be the new thing. Quinoa is the new thing. It's a substitute for rice,
Gradual
you know.
changes.
Or you try and add different flavors to the food so that, you know, you don't really want to make the person completely switch and change.
Yeah, because it's going to be it's more of a mental challenge.
Correct.
Than it?
Yes, it is.
You know, and you really want to try the best for the society. So, but I don't think because it's planned that it means that it is better.
And maybe they are not feeding just themselves, they have children as well. So, you know, the children might not want this type of total change in their meals. So you have to look at that factor as well.
Wow. So,
yes.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back as, you know, we delve more into this. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Another day in the books. Well, hello there. Ooh, she pretty from head to toe and are you ready to go? Wait there. Whew. Can't afford to slip up. Not even in my dreams.
What's up with you? Girl, you look like you're off in dreamland. Focus.
Focus. It's Valentine's season. Love is in the air.
You not here?
So Dave said he loved me and I have 24 hours to respond. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say.
That doesn't need telling. When he say I love you, you simply say I love me too.
What's that? And who even does that?
I do.
Me too.
I love you too simply means I love me enough to make myself a priority. And it starts with making wise decisions.
This Valentine's, I choose to abstain and to protect my name.
This Valentine, I choose education now, and this is my solemn vow.
I choose to keep my virginity and maintain my dignity.
Wise choice, because saying yes to him is saying no to you. I choose self-respect over self-neglect.
Okay, I get it now. I love myself too. This Valentine, Dave can keep his love. At this point in life, I choose self-love. For learning to love oneself is the greatest love of all.
Hey baby, you know I love you, right?
I love me too.
And welcome back. We're actually joined now with our District Medical Officer, Dr. Joeann Mattew, and we're just going to give you a few minutes to introduce herself, and then we're going to bounce right back into what we've been discussing before. Yeah.
Hi. So, as she said, I'm Dr. Joeann Mattew, District Medical Officer for the West Bastia region. I'm stationed at Bastia Health Center.
All right, so everybody, we're excited to have Dr. Matthew here with us, and she's going to help us further explore this topic and basically how does the diet affect or impact the prevention and management of chronic diseases. So as we continue, I would like to ask, so what role do processed foods play in the development of chronic diseases?
Okay, so forgive me if I'm looking down quite a bit because I've made a few notes. But with regards to processed foods in the development of chronic diseases, they tend to actually increase the risk of these diseases such as hypertension and diabetes. And that's usually because their ingredients, they contain large quantities of added sugars, fats, and sodium or salt. So that's usually why how the process in which they help to increase the risk.
Yeah, so process basically meaning that, I don't know, it have more additives for like the preservation of it.
Right,
correct.
Yes.
I mean, a doctor rightly told me when you eat foods that has, you know, ingredients for preserving stuff, it preserves the bad things in your body as well. So for persons who have these chronic diseases, they should completely avoid these things or have it in small amounts. What do you recommend?
I mean, I think avoidance would be most ideal, but it's very difficult.
It's not realistic, is it?
It can be difficult for some persons in terms of access to food, high quality food.
Right.
So what we can advise is, you know, they try to limit as much as possible processed foods or these foods high in sugars, fat, and salt.
Okay, so how do dietary fats, as in saturated versus unsaturated fats, affect cardiovascular health and hypertension?
Okay.
Maybe we should go into what is unsaturated and saturated fats.
Right, so there's a long biochemistry definition to saturated and unsaturated fats, but I want to keep it simple for the public. And so saturated fats are usually, they're more termed like the bad fats, and they are mostly found in foods like meat and in dairy.
What kind of meat, like all meats?
Processed foods, you mostly find
right.
Okay.
Or saturated. I like to think of it like it's saturated with
fully saturated.
Fully saturated with oil fat. That's how I always remember the term.
Oh, fully saturated.
Fully saturated. Fully saturated.
Not less can be added.
That's right. It's fully saturated. Yes.
Okay, that's a nice way of remembering it. Saturated fats, fully saturated. And then the unsaturated fats.
The unsaturated fats are much better. You can find some examples of food that contain these, like avocado, fish, nuts, for example.
Oh, okay.
Legumes.
The legumes. So we have so basically good fat versus bad fat.
Correct. Beautiful.
Okay. So just a side question: the bad fat is the one that is packed onto the tummy. And then the good fat is
HDL and the LDL.
Very
LDL.
Well, it's not so much in the context of where the fat is located, like in terms of the tummy, but what our concern is the saturated fats, the bad fats, they collect in the blood vessels. That is the concern. And it's because of that they increase the risk of heart disease and other cardiovascular disease like hypertension.
So they make hypertension worse.
Increase the risk. And
Yeah.
also make it worse.
And also make it worse. So the unsaturated fat, they're the good ones for us, right? They're the good fats.
Because they help to lower cholesterol or the fat.
Exactly.
They help remove the cholesterol from the body.
See, so persons who have high cholesterol, you eat more avocado, you eat more fish, omega-3.
Correct.
Y'all drink y'all cod liver oils now.
That's right.
Right? And that helps to move along the cholesterol in our bodies. Meanwhile, saturated fat, as a nurse, help us to remember it's so saturated, you can't add nothing else.
Can't add nothing else. It doesn't move.
It doesn't move.
It stays and it builds.
So it stays and it builds up in your blood vessels, in your arteries, in your veins, and because of the strong pressure, it increases the risk of hypertension. Or if you already have hypertension, it makes hypertension worse, and it leads into cardiovascular disease. So hypertension leading to a bad heart, and it just goes downhill from there. Right? So bad fat, no. Good fat, yes. All right. So we spoke a bit of how our cultural eating habits affect our diet and affect our health, right? How would you suggest that we can, from a medical point of view, from a doctor's point of view, how do you suggest we move it around a little bit to make it healthier for us? our diet. So I know we like to eat, for example, our Sunday lunch, we like the baked potato, the baked chicken, or the fried chicken, the macaroni pie, the macaroni salad, fried plantain, you know, all this stuff, and the extra sweet drink, right? And from a medical point of view, how would you suggest that we switch it around a little bit so we can still have our cultural part of it, but healthy?
All right.
Right. Okay. So in general, it's best to an overall healthy diet is one that would consist of lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, and also you want to reduce the amount of salt, sugar and fats in the food. So with regards to, you know, your regular lunch, your chicken, your rice and everything, sometimes it's more about portion as well. So, you know, try to increase the amount of vegetables on the plate, try to reduce the amount of meat and some of the starches like rice, potato, pastas, reduce them on the plate. Maybe you can even add in some more fruits. Peas and beans are also good. And in terms of preparation of the food, try to reduce the amount of salt content,
and
you know, seasoning. You know, a lot of the ready-made seasonings can contain a lot of salt or sodium that can contribute to the salt in your diet. Whereas using the green seasoning, as we say, your onions, your garlic, your peppers, your thyme, those may help to give you the flavor that you want instead of relying heavily on the processed powdered ones. And then, of course, you know, minimize the amount of sugar you use, not only in preparing your food, but in your side drinks. I think in our culture, we like to have a lot of sweet drinks with our meals, but I think it's important to try to always use the opportunity to reach for water, right? Just plain old water is good. You know, with regards to culture, we're so used to having a sweet drink with our meal, and so water may not taste good in the beginning. True. But once you start it and you get used to it, you use the water just to quench your thirst as opposed to add to the meal. So that's one easy way to reduce the sugar in our meals in general.
So for a diabetic patient or person, would you recommend that they eat, you know, the same amount of fruits as somebody who's not diabetic, or they should, like, you know, cut back on the amount of fruits they eat? I know, you know, fruits, they have a bit of sugar in it. So would that sugar affect a diabetic person as well?
It's possible. It's possible that having very sweet food, especially a large quantity of very sweet food, can help to spike blood sugar, which is exactly what we want, the opposite. But at the same time, you know, we still want to encourage them to get the benefits from foods in general. And so, in general, nutrition is not really
it's not broad
easy,
spectrum.
right? It's not like a hard and fast rule. But there are specialists, there are nutritionists who can help to guide us and cater specific treatment for specific persons. So, you know, it's a little bit tricky because yes, we want diabetics to have food, but they should also be mindful that sometimes if they overdo the very sweet foods, that they could also increase their blood sugar.
Correct. Because right now we're advocating for more healthy eating. When we think about healthy eating, we're taking fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and this and that. But I think what we should really emphasize on, most importantly, is moderation, you know? And as Dr. Matthew rightly said, is that diet is not something that is broad spectrum that everybody can just follow. It's something that is very individualistic, right? And I would think it's highly recommended for each person to go to a dietitian, you know, and, you know, formulate a diet that is, you know, specific to you and your lifestyle, right? That is specific to whatever health issues that you may or may not have, you know, the amount of activities that you do in a day, and all of that would help to incorporate. Because I mean, if I go to the gym 5 days a week and I have a friend who has not seen the gym in the past 10 years, we can't exactly eat the same thing now, can we?
No.
I mean, the amount of calorie that I would take in would not be beneficial for her. It might be too much for her, right? So I think that is something that we should definitely work on. So one more thing though, how significant is the timing and frequency of meals in disease prevention? Like, I don't know, some persons say you should eat 6 times a day. People like me probably eat twice a day. I don't know. So how does the timing and frequency affect, or the prevention of these chronic diseases?
Okay, so I think that research it hasn't come to a consensus really in terms of that advice. We know for sure that the timing and the frequency plays a significant role in disease prevention. They believe it is thought that eating later at night may increase your risk of some diseases, whereas eating earlier in the day, for example, having breakfast earlier, may help to improve metabolic health. Right? And also, higher meal frequencies may be associated with better blood sugar control, and lower meal frequencies may be associated with weight loss. And so it seems as if the best frequency, the best timing is based on the individual preference. I don't think there's a general rule we can apply to everybody because everybody is different. Some people may prefer to just have 2 or 3 big meals during the day and they feel better like that, but that would increase your calorie intake. And some people may want smaller meals throughout the day, but for other people that may increase digestive issues. Everybody is different, and everybody has different digestive problems or digestive preferences. So it's hard to say this is what everybody should do. It's more based on at the individual level. You decide what works better for you. Sometimes with trial and error, okay, this is better for me. Let me eat more frequently or less frequently. Let me eat earlier during the day or later in the day. So
okay, but for someone who's suffering from a chronic disease or they're managing it, would a specific time work for them, or is still just based on their individual preference?
It's still based on their preference, because you may have 2 diabetics. One may have one preference, the other may prefer to eat more frequently, one may prefer to eat during the daytime or the afternoon time, heavier meals. It's because everybody's gut is different. Everybody's digestive system is different, so you can't really apply one rule for everybody.
All right. So that was very interesting. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have a look at our medical spotlight, or medical official in tonight's personality spotlight. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Okay. Every smile, every hug, every step our children take is a precious gift. For 50 years, vaccines have been the shield protecting those moments, saving 6 lives every minute around the world. That's 8,000 lives a day. Thanks to Vaccination Week in the Americas, 1.2 billion people have been vaccinated across more than 40 countries. In 2024, we celebrated 30 years without polio and reaffirmed our region's status as measles-free. But there's still more to do. For 2030, PAHO has set the goal of eliminating more than 30 communicable diseases. This goal is about caring for our future and for our communities, our health systems, and boosting socioeconomic progress. One of our top priorities is to become the first region in the world to eliminate cervical cancer, a disease that took more than 40,000 lives in 2022 alone in the Americas. To this end, PAHO supports countries in reaching at least 90% vaccination coverage rate for the human papillomavirus in girls under 15 years of age. Also, some countries are already vaccinating boys, which will help achieve the overall goal. But there are still children and adolescents without access to vaccines. We need urgent support from our leaders, our communities, and from each individual. No child, no one should suffer or die from a disease that we know how to prevent. Why is getting vaccinated essential? Because each person vaccinated is a life saved, a step closer to individual, family, and community development. Because your decision makes a difference. For those you love, for the future, for your health, and for the good of your country and our region.
So we're going to take a quick look at what's happening at the JNF Hospital with Dr. Jensen Morton.
Good day, my name is Siobhan Richards and I'm the PRO for the Ministry of Health, and today we are here with Dr. Cuellar, and she's our new endocrinologist.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
I am Dr. Cuellar, specialist in endocrinologist.
So, doctor, could you kindly give us an idea of what an endocrinologist is and what they do?
Well, endocrinology is considered a super specialty that studies the glands and organs that produce hormones and hormonal disorders that appear when there is an endocrine dysfunction.
Okay, so the hormonal imbalances such as, I guess, anywhere from gynecological issues to as far as diabetes,
yes,
thyroid?
Yes, I treat many different pathologies in my specialty because we have 7 endocrine glands in the body and every gland is different. But the most common pathology is in the first place diabetes mellitus, followed by thyroid diseases, obesity, menstrual disorders, and infertility.
Oh, okay. So that's, you treat things that are ranging from diabetes, obesity, infertility.
Yes.
That's something that we don't talk about
Yes.
here a lot. So you cover all these areas as a specialist. So for patients who are in need of your services, how can they reach you? And do you do the clinic days and which clinics, or do you do it at the hospital?
I work every day here in the hospital as a consultant doctor, but my clinic days are Tuesday mornings at the outpatient department.
In JNF?
Yes.
So there you have it. This is Dr. Cuellar, and she's our new endocrinologist. So for persons who are in need of hormonal therapy and so forth, again, anything from gynecological issues down to obesity and thyroid issues, this is your doctor. And she works daily at the hospital, and her clinic days are again?
Tuesday mornings.
Tuesday mornings from 8 in the morning?
10 a.m.
From Tuesday mornings from 10 a.m. Thank you so much, Dr. Cuellar.
Thank you.
It was lovely meeting you.
And we're back, so let's jump right in. So what are some of the behavioral strategies, or what are the behavioral strategies that are most effective in sustaining a healthy diet long term?
All right, so you can actually plan your meals and snacks ahead of time. So when you plan your meals, it reduces impulsive eating. So it's like grab and go.
Oh, okay.
And then instead of grab and go, it becomes, this is where I prepare for the week and then I go.
Oh, like I have food at home.
Right. Yes. So we're going to do a chicken sandwich for the entire week, and we're going to add a little 1 or 2 vegetables or anything of your choice, and then you plan it for the rest of the week, as opposed to I'm saying, okay, today's Tuesday, I don't know what to eat, okay, let me go down KFC, let me go and get a chicken from off the roadside or so at least in your mind that this is what I want to eat. Also, when you also plan your snacks, at least you have a mental, basically this is me telling myself that this is what I want to eat, this is how much I'm going to have, and this is the amount of portion that I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
Right? So as opposed to I go to the grocery store and I say, okay, you know what, when I pack up 10 chicken, and then I have the 10 chicken, and I said, okay, I don't know what to eat with the chicken, so I go back down the road and see what to get, you know. So you have to.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, right. And then also when you plan ahead, you know, you carry your shopping list, you know, and you save money.
True. I mean, sometimes we walk with the shopping list, right? And you pick up everything else except what's supposed to be on the list.
That's right.
So I guess a bit of discipline comes into that.
Discipline is very much needed. Yeah. But that's a quick way.
Think about it as if I'm disciplined, my pockets will thank me later. Because I know sometimes we go to the supermarket and with how the inflation of everything is right now, we pick up everything else that's not on the list. And then your mind is like, I only pick up these 5 little things. So when my money gone.
Yes.
And then even though you're saying that, you walk across the Chinese and say, well, Chinese cheap is just $7.
I know.
And you pick up a chicken fried rice that have probably like 3, 4, 5 grams of salt. I don't know if you all ever know how much grams is, but that's a lot of salt in one sitting. All right, but what are there any other strategies?
But to also add to that, you can make gradual changes. So you say you go down the road and you buy your Chinese food. Maybe you can do that like once a week, and then you just improve over time. So like you do it once a week, and then by the second month also you stop doing it.
You do it like every 2 weeks, and then you slowly cut wean off.
Yes, make gradual changes.
All right. So slow and steady wins the race in this.
Yes.
I like that.
Slow and steady wins the race. Because I mean, from my experience, one time I was like, you know what, I need to eat healthier. I need to do this and that. I was all gung ho and excited about it, you know. And so I jumped right in. I took everything out of my fridge. I was like, all this is bad. You know, I gave them away. And I went on about quinoa, almonds, this and that. And look, let me tell you, when them hunger pangs hit you at night, I don't know.
You go for your comfort foods.
Oh my! I didn't have comfort foods in the house. That was the problem. I wanted to cry. I'm like, in 6 nights to go, I need.
Yes, that's right.
Because it's such a drastic change. So what works best is you have your regular diet, and you know you have to change. You say, you know what? Today, instead of eating like not honey nut cheese, like Lucky Charms, and try a bowl of oats today. You might like it at first because you know that's not necessarily the nicest thing on the planet. But you say, if I finish this bowl of oats, I could walk with everything else. And then you say, okay, I eat the bowl of oats for a week and it wasn't so bad. So lunch, I'm gonna do steamed vegetables, a piece of baked chicken breast or whatever. And then for dinner, I could treat myself. And then you slowly ease it up.
And you be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, and then you give yourself little pats on the back. And when you're proud of yourself, no one can do something bad and say, oh, just a little treat. It defeats the purpose. Don't do that. Don't say, oh, I was good for all the week. I could have a KFC and I could have a little chocolate bar.
No.
Cheat days don't exist, guys.
Yes, so they don't exist.
Don't do that to yourself.
Also, it's a power. It's mind over matter. What I did when I was dieting, because yes, your girl went on a diet.
Ooh.
What I did was that I had placed like a lot of the fruits and I put them to the front of the fridge. I put them to the front, and anything bad I put it to the side, way to the side. So I couldn't reach. Yes. You know, so everything was like right at my level. So this is what I want and this is what I'm going to get. And I act like I don't see nothing to the side. I have to admit.
But you can also get family support too.
But
to help you.
Yes, it is hard. That's
it's hard, but you need it.
Yes, but you need it. So trust me.
Okay, so how does stress or sleep interact with the diet to influence chronic diseases? How does that, you know, if you're stressed out? I mean, for example, as you said, comfort foods. You know, you had a really bad day. And for the bougie, some of us bougie people, we sit down with a glass of wine and it's like, you know what, I deserve this. I've had to deal with a lot of people with a smile on my face. And this is my time to distress. So how does sleep and managing stress affect your diet and then, you know, eventually affect you having or developing these diseases?
Right. Okay, so stress and inadequate sleep, they can lead to cravings for unhealthy food. So they can cause disruption in hormones in the body that results in reduced satiety and increased appetite.
Oh, okay.
So overall, you're going to get an increased desire to eat and even crave more unhealthy food.
A cycle.
So managing your stress, ensuring you get good sleep will also help you to make better diet choices, improve your diet, reduce your risk of other chronic diseases.
Because I remember someone once saying that, after you eat good all day, and then 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock come and you feel like a hungry, go in your bed. Drink a glass of water, go sleep.
Sometimes it's thirsty.
Sometimes it's thirsty and it translates as hunger.
Yes. Just have a cup of tea.
Or have a cup of tea with no sugar.
But, right? These things do exist because, as she rightfully said too, there are certain hormones that are secreted, right? That helps to curb eating. So, like melatonin, that's a hormone that helps. So your stress level, and then you're not getting enough sleep, you find that this hormone is not secreting as much as before, and then now we're going to get up and we're going to say, okay, I can't sleep, let me go in the fridge. You're going for your ice cream, you're going for your chips,
also
you're going
late
for your
night snacking.
Yeah, so it's actually a real thing. There are actual hormones that are secreted to help curb these stuff, and when you're not getting enough sleep, you're stressed out, your cortisol levels, they rise, and your body is out of whack. And this is what I need at this time to help curb it.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat.
Imagine
that. And I'm going to eat. So.
Yeah, and then we've heard that cortisol levels and stress, they go hand in hand. The more stress you have, the higher cortisol level. And you see how everything is connected, everything is so intertwined, right? So if you reduce your stress, you're upset, you're stressed out, go for a walk. Say you put in your physical activity for the day, and then you come home and it's like, I feel like something sweet. You take up an apple, you take up an orange, and that's your good day. You feel a little thirsty, leave the punch alone.
Go for the water.
Go for the water. Right? And then you see 9 o'clock come, you don't have anything pressing to do, go to sleep.
That's right.
You go to sleep, and then you wake up early, and when you wake up early, you get a nice, fresh, clean breeze. No cars on the road to
I know.
You understand? And then you put all of that in and you realize you're going to start to see significant changes. You realize you're sleeping better, your skin starting to look nicer, and you don't have to put, some people don't walk with the pooch and be like, oh, I feel so bloated and constipated. You realize that everything just
going hand in
over
hand.
time. It's a journey.
It's a journey. That's
don't expect it to happen in the first week.
Thank you for saying that. It's a journey.
Don't expect it to happen in the first week, all right? So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're winding down now, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up. See you soon.
The dangers of sweet beverages in the Caribbean. It is time to shine a light on the dangers of sugary beverages. Sugar-sweetened beverages are the main source of sugar in our diets, and eating and drinking too much sugar has been linked to being overweight and obese. In St. Kitts and Nevis, 50% of adult females and 37% of males are overweight and obese. And 28% of children are either overweight or obese. A survey showed that 62% of students between the ages of 13 and 15 drank one or more carbonated sugar-sweetened beverage every day, exceeding their daily healthy limit. So, how much sugar should we consume? The World Health Organization and American Heart Association recommends that children aged 2 to 18 should consume less than 25 grams of sugar daily, and adults should consume less than 50 grams of sugar daily. It will surprise you how much sugar is in some of your favorite beverages. This chart shows that on average, one serving of a sugary beverage exceeds the daily maximum sugar intake for children, which is 25 grams, and is very close or sometimes over the limit for adults at 50 grams. The impact of sweet beverages on your health, your family, and community can be severe. So, it's time to rethink your drink. This message has been brought to you by the St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Health.
And now we're finally almost at the end of our show, and we just have a few more questions, and then we're going to be done for the night. So, to help us conclude our little segment, how do socioeconomic factors influence diet and chronic diseases and their outcomes?
Understand?
Go ahead.
We're debating who's going to answer first.
Well, For instance, your income. Your income plays a really big role in your diet. For instance, like, you know, if you have a low income job, so food these days are very expensive, especially fruits, vegetables, healthy foods, quote unquote, as we said in the beginning, are expensive.
True.
And so everybody wants their dollar to stretch.
True.
And so unfortunately, the healthy food is going to get cut because it's not just you have your family to think about. And so instead of going, that's something that has that is good in nutrition, you're going to go and probably pick up, you know, the KFC, as I said before.
Not even that, just a ramen.
Not even just the ramen. Some people, and you know, the thing is that it's sad because it happens a lot. You know, you find that you go buy the Chinese, you pick up. What they have done the Chinese? I don't eat Chinese. Chicken fried rice, and so
you have to buy something that can share within the family for the family. That's
right.
So,
you know, and so you find that these people, they're gonna eat. They're gonna eat out, right? Sometimes you don't have time to cook, as I said before, right? And so you find that unfortunately the good stuff gets left out, right? So it's not. So the income is number one. Also, employment. I think I had said before, the kind of profession that we are in right now, we work very long hours.
Yeah, we're constantly active.
By the time you come home, you don't have time to cook. You just go.
You energy.
You don't have the energy. You're tired, and so you're gonna go down the road and you're gonna pick up that same Chinese. You're gonna pick up the KFC. And unfortunately, some persons say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do it, and tomorrow never comes.
True.
And so you fall in that cycle of just you're gonna fry your food because it's gonna be quicker. You're not gonna go down the road because I don't have time to cook. And then you find that you never actually start your journey.
True.
Right? So stuff like that.
On top of that, I know there are persons who have multiple jobs just to try and make ends meet.
Yes.
Right? So we have rent to pay, bills. I mean, you can't tell Scarlett, look, I ain't got the money.
That's
so
right.
you know, is they gonna cut it? And you can't exactly live in the dark with no electricity, you know.
Exactly.
And same thing for water. And with all these things, sometimes we have 2, 3, 4 extra mouths to feed. We have different dependents. You might be living with your elderly mom or dad, your young children and stuff like that. And then when it comes to transportation, if you live far from the town, you have to commute back and forth every day. What are we gonna do, right? So it's very difficult, and it's saddening that even though we're constantly preaching, you know, you need to eat healthy, you have this, it has to prevent that.
They just don't have it.
The reality is that it's not exactly achievable for everyone.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So what can we do? I think that's a topic we should definitely delve in, but at a later date. But something that we should definitely focus on and try to find solutions for that, you know? But how do healthcare providers currently address the diet in chronic disease management? I mean, at the hospital, right, you know that for diabetes, hypertension, you can't be eating it. You shouldn't be eating the same thing as everyone because of your specific needs, right? So how do healthcare providers currently address that situation?
Okay, so normally we try to address it through education and counseling, trying to help patients to understand how diet can actually improve their health.
Yes.
By providing self-care, teaching them how to manage their conditions. You teach them but educate them on their diseases and stuff like that.
Social
Yes.
group.
Social groups.
Grouping helps a lot. So, like at the hospital, besides educating, just so happens that there are on certain days we might find, a lot of diabetics come up. They come in their groups.
They come in groups.
Right, they come in groups.
That's not exactly a bad thing, you know?
Because then we have the chance to educate. And so I will take 2, 3, 4 them and I say, okay guys, everybody look at me. This is what we're doing today. And this is right. But you have the chance to educate the persons, and while you're educating them, you might see 2 of them and they might say, so this is what you eat, and then I say, you see the 2 of you eating the same thing, and then all of them would share their struggles at the same time. So I would say maybe Sal, maybe you can try to use it as a Sal. Okay, it's been a while now since you come up here, you had a lapse. Okay, but the reason why you haven't been up here is because this is what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
explain to Mary how you've been doing it, right?
Yeah.
And they will actually converse with each other.
And I think that persons who are in it together, they kind of rely on each other and they learn from each other faster than someone who they feel like is not relatable. For me to just tell you what it is.
Correct.
Right?
And sometimes we have to refer patients to see a dietitian or a nutritionist depending on their condition. Sometimes persons with diabetes, we have to send them to get a specialized diet specifically for that. Sometimes people with kidney diseases, they can't eat certain things, so we have to send them to get a special diet for that as well. So that's another way that healthcare providers try to use diet to help to improve health in persons with chronic diseases.
All right. So guys, you see how important all of this was and how we can implement it. We learn what is a healthy diet. We learn how it can contribute to preventing chronic diseases or reducing the risk of it, and for just going overboard. We learn how what we can or can't do. We learn the importance of moderation, the different types of diets, and all these things. Basically, it was something that I think we all needed to learn from it. And the most important point that came across in all of this was education, educating yourself. And this is the importance of HealthWise. This is why we do it. So we're going to see you guys on another episode of HealthWise. We're going to meet you guys tonight. And we were so happy and excited, to just share all of this with you guys. It was great having Dr. Matthew with us, Miss Boddie, and Miss Anslyn, right? So see you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.